to me, I never told anybody, but Beauty and the Beast for me was, I was making a roadshow musical, and we had a month where it played at the El Capitan,
yes,
which is a true palace,
right.
And there was an overture and a light show,
yeah.
and there was stuff downstairs. I felt like, well, those people, those families, and it's date night with everyone came, and I thought, wow, these people are getting that experience that really got taken away from everybody about 50 years ago.
Welcome home, stranger.
Enter Paulina Paz. Long nose, bushy brows, and eyes as dull as two wrapped caramels.
I get it. You don't like her.
Everyone thinks she's beautiful, but she doesn't hold a candle to Aurora. Her only advantage is her youth, which she wields like a machete. It's obvious from the way she greets Armando that they were once an item, and that she still carries a torch.
The blood thins.
Paulina makes a big show of being gracious to Aurora.
I hope you're enjoying your stay here. I'm sure our little village can compare to the big city.
Oh, I was born in this village. We moved away when I was a little girl.
Oh, that was before my time. Perhaps our families know each other.
I doubt it. We were simple people.
I adore this moment. Aurora shows that stupid, stuck-up girl what real class looks like.
Welcome to Behind the Lens. He needs no introduction, especially if you've seen all of his movies. The latest one being Kiss of the Spider Woman with Jennifer Lopez, Diego Luna. It's a great musical, and this is Bill Condon. Hi.
Hi, Pete.
Tone it to you. He's a big discovery of yours now.
Absolutely. I'm so proud of him, you know. Casting the other parts, Jennifer and Diego were the only choices. We got lucky, they said yes. But Molina, we saw about 800 people. You know,
wow.
And he came to us. He did a self-tape. It wasn't like, oh, he's got the part, you know, because we had to do due diligence across the world. But it was one of those things where you saw, wow, he's really got something, you know.
And to find someone like that, so you've got a real eye for talent, and particularly in his case, it's a tough role because not only he's playing too.
Exactly, it's not just casting Molina as it has been in other iterations. He's also starring in the movie.
Yeah, and has to be believable as an actor in those.
Exactly.
Movies.
As a debonair sidekick, you know, second banana,
It's amazing. I mentioned the movies, that everybody knows your movies, but you won an Academy Award for Gods and Monsters, adapted screenplay, and Chicago, you were nominated again for writing that screenplay, and then you wrote and directed Kinsey, which is a terrific film, Dreamgirls, the Twilight saga, Breaking Dawn, you did both of those, Beauty and the Beast, which is the second highest grossing live action musical.
No, it's the first.
The first?
No, I say that only because the first is Lion King. Is that really live action? I ask.
Yeah.
No, I mean, there are no humans in it.
That's true.
Right.
Oh, you're right.
So
you're the highest grossing with humans.
With humans.
That's quite an achievement no matter how you did it.
Yeah.
For Beauty and the Beast, which was amazing, and a great movie called The Good Liar, if you want to see great acting. Ian McKellen and Helen Mirren, fantastic. In addition to that, he produced the best Oscar show.
Aw.
Really, seriously. I write it every time I get a chance.
I know Larry Mark, I did it with him, and every time you write, he calls. Very, very excited. It's very nice.
But, you know, obviously musicals are close to your heart here.
Yes.
Is this the biggest challenge of bringing a musical to the screen because it is so unique in what you had to do with it?
Yeah, this was a big challenge. Also, I have to say, I put so much of myself into it, and especially into the mouth of Molina. You know, there's an argument that starts, Diego Luna says, I hate musicals, and Molina says, and I pity you. You know, people don't sing in real life. Well, maybe they should. You know, shut up and listen. You know.
Yeah.
So it's an argument. You know, I have in real life with people who don't get musicals. You know,
right.
So in a way, part of the movie is just kind of trying to explain to people what the appeal of this form is, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, the challenge is, on stage, I would say it's almost sung through. You know, it is a major score by John Kander. John Kander loves opera, and I think it's the closest he ever came to writing one.
He, with Fred Ebb, of course, Cabaret, Chicago, on and on.
So many great shows. You know, I was taking my cue from the Cabaret movie. Bob Fosse sort of slashed and burned through that great score. And I sort of had to do the same thing here because I just didn't believe we could have singing prisoners, you know?
Yeah.
The whole point of it is the contrast between this grim reality and this fantastical Hollywood altered reality.
Yeah. So you split it. So
Yes.
all the musical numbers are, and there are about 11 of them that
think,
Jennifer
yes,
Lopez
yes,
and all
right.
of them do in the form of this 40s MGM style
That's right.
musical
Yes.
that's being made, and then the very grim prison sequences,
Yes.
which are, but in the musical play, there were musical numbers in there.
That's right. They would sing their feelings and things like
Yeah.
that, yes. But here, we literally made 2 movies. In New York for 3.5 weeks, Jennifer was there, and we shot all of those musical numbers back to back, which is unheard of. You know,
Yeah.
usually on something like Dreamgirls, you know, you're working hard on the dramatic scenes, but you know on Thursday they're going to do Dreamgirls, you know, and everyone gets this lift.
Yeah.
But here, we did one every day, and it was also, we were making an independent way. It was lavish, you know, what we did there.
Yeah.
But you couldn't not finish, because the next day there was a whole other group of dancers, you know, on a different set. So it really was every day kind of, are we going to get through this, you know? But then the second movie was a truly independent movie. We got on planes and went to Montevideo, Uruguay, and made this prison drama, you know, in an entirely different way. You know, it was very, very dramatic scenes that we rehearsed as if it were a play. It's really 2 men in a cell. So we did a tremendous amount of rehearsal and then blocking to make sure that, you know, it was a visual challenge, you know, to keep that interesting in those 4 walls, you know, so it was very, very different.
Jennifer Lopez, in a way, I think you've also discovered, because you've given her the chance to do something she was born to play, a movie, a big movie musical kind of thing, and you look at it and you say, why has she not been doing this?
I know. It's one of those things where you think, was she born in the wrong era? You know, because it's crazy that this is her first traditional musical. When you see this, it should be the 10th, you know?
Right.
And in a different time, it would have been, you know?
Yeah.
The way, if you remember, you know, when Barbra Streisand even hit in the 60s, or Liza Minnelli, then there's a series of movies where Julie Andrews built around them, and I think that would have happened.
Barbra Streisand came into Hollywood with 3 major movie musicals, Funny Girl, Hello Dolly, controversial,
On a Clear Day.
And On a Clear Day, with all these, you know, William Wyler and Vincent Minnelli and Gene Kelly directing her. I mean, it was all planned.
Yes, it was crazy. Yes, that's what people did back then, and they don't do it anymore. Yeah, so, and I'd actually met her. She gave Larry Mark his Golden Globe for Dreamgirls, you know, and we were talking backstage, and she said, I want to do musicals. Back then, I think she was thinking of maybe trying to remake Sweet Charity, which is one of my favorite movies. So that, you know, I thought that was
that was Bob Fosse's first directing.
Correct.
And it was not appreciated as it should have been.
No,
with Shirley MacLaine.
Fantastic
it was really
movie.
good.
It is.
I always loved that. I saw it at the Pantages. I still have the program.
I know. Yeah, I saw it, you know, I was 13. And just fell in love with movie musicals through that movie.
That's so interesting, yeah. And why that one? What was it about that you saw?
It baffles me, and I was, because I was going to Follies every night, and that was about, you know, middle-aged couples whose marriages are falling apart. This is about a hooker, you know, and it's been, you know, an incredibly masochistic story, you know, and why that little boy it felt such a deep connection to it. It baffles me. I really never figured it out.
It's the very first Broadway show I saw on Broadway.
Really?
With Gwen Verdon at the Palace, you know, and I never forget. It's a great show. Well, if you haven't seen Sweet Charity, which you probably haven't, check that one out. Yeah, so anyway, you've got Jennifer Lopez doing back-to-back numbers like you alluded to. I don't know how you pull it off, because it looks like this would have been a production of 3 months at least.
Yeah, well, you pull it off because you have Jennifer Lopez. Frankly. You know, nobody else could have done it. Yeah, she did it. She rehearsed, drilled those numbers like crazy in Los Angeles before she arrived. Then we had 3 weeks of rehearsal. What she kept saying is, I've got to have it so deep in my bones, and I know the moment when I've got it there, you know? And so it was interesting to see her just, you know, sometimes rehearsals for big numbers would be shorter than we'd kind of allotted time for, because no, I got it. You know? And then she did. She shows up on the day and she's doing, I think also the big challenge, and she's been talking about this, is that we wanted to shoot it in the style of late 40s, early 50s musicals, which basically the style that Fred Astaire brought to Hollywood, you know.
Yeah.
He came on the, you know, that was right when 42nd Street was happening and Busby Berkeley, and he said, that does not interest me, all trickery and cutting and things like that. I want people, because he'd been a big star on Broadway, I want people to know in the movie theater in Duluth that they are getting something that didn't have any trickery involved. So he wanted full frame as much as possible and the longest takes as much as possible. And usually, if you look at those movies, they do that and then they kind of move in and then they step back and do it again.
Yeah.
You know, sort of. So with her, that was this extra challenge. You know, there's in that first big dance number she has, she dances with 6 different guys and winds up with Tony Hugh, and that was over a minute take, you know? You know, she'd do a perfect one, and at the end, the crane would bang into part of the set and go like this, and we'd have to do it again. Nerve-wracking, but again, nobody could have done it except for her.
It's amazing. Can I ask you, with Dreamgirls, you not only had Jennifer Hudson, who's just like phenomenal, won the Oscar, but you had Beyonce.
Yes.
And Beyonce is just as big a star as you can possibly get.
Yes.
Why isn't she doing more musicals?
That's a great question, isn't it? Because I think she's so great. And I got to say, only Jennifer Lopez, yes, but Beyonce has the same, as you know, the same work ethic. It was amazing. I remember hearing something, because she'd just done the Pink Panther movie with Steve Martin. And he made a joke about like, oh yeah, at lunchtime she went off and shot a video, you know, and came back and did our scene. You know, the amount of stuff she could get done in a day was remarkable. Yeah, it kind of breaks my heart that I will say though that she's found her own, you know, with movies like Lemonade, she is, that's a when personal, and you could say movie musical, you know, so she's so elaborate in the visual stuff that she creates to promote her albums that I feel as if that's going to emerge as its own little niche of movie musical.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You know?
Is it just hard to get movie musicals made? It all depends on what the last one was. I mean, Wicked, huge, you know.
Well, it's you know, it's a little frustrating because Wicked and Beauty and the Beast, they don't lead to a lot of others because people think, oh, it's the IP, you know.
Right.
So musicals have been dying since they were invented. You know, they were ripping numbers out of musicals in 1929 because they'd made so many of them. You know.
Right.
But really, since the end of the studio system, it's been tougher for musicals, and every movie musical kind of carries the weight of the genre on its shoulder. So you know, getting this made, it was tough, and we're working on another because a few big ones didn't work about 3 or 4 years ago, you know? And there's this extra challenge because, you know, so many movies are made by streamers and they don't like musicals. They tried, it didn't work for them. Netflix famously has this metric that, you know, when do people turn it off? So there are people who would stumble onto a movie, not know it was a musical, the first number occurs and, you know, not everybody, but there's enough people that it scares them away from making them. So that's a huge kind of, I don't know, area where they're not getting made. You know?
Musicals should be seen in the theater.
They have
first of all.
That is very true.
I mean, it isn't designed for streaming.
No.
You know, especially the sound, everything you pour into this from a technical standpoint.
Absolutely.
Is great to see with people, and you know, the ones that work. You know, obviously, it's a communal experience.
It is. You feel it, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I love that. You know, for me, talking about Sweet Charity, and you said you saw it at the Pantages.
Oh, yeah.
We grew up at the last gasp, I think, of big roadshow musicals.
Oh, yeah,
right?
totally. Reserve seat, going out.
It was so thrilling, right? And one of the secret, you know, the way that, you know, boy directors, Tarantino's remaking, you know, the kind of, you know, westerns he liked, or, you know, Scorsese with gangster movies. To me, I never told anybody, but Beauty and the Beast for me was I was making a roadshow musical, and we had a month where it played at the El Capitan, which is a true palace, and there was an overture and a light show, and there was stuff downstairs. And
the guy with the organ comes out of the
thing. There was a program. It was so I felt like, well, those people, those families, and it's date night with everyone came, and I thought, wow, these people are getting that experience that really got taken away from everybody about 50 years ago.
Yeah, I know. it's not as special. It was so special then, and you know, and streaming, that's a whole other issue. But you've done so many different genres. People would be surprised that you really were a horror director.
Oh, absolutely.
I remember when you came over to my house and you noticed I had the Candyman 2 script on my shelf, which they sent me, and I made that movie, you know. And I'm going like, Candyman, you know, people don't think of Bill Condon in that way, but that's how you started.
Absolutely. I love horror, and it was, I started by writing a few horror movies simply because it was its own kind of niche of independent film.
Right.
John Carpenter, you know, when Halloween happened, that was suddenly like, that was a way to get movies made, you know, for $1 million, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, my first, but I gotta say, if anyone were to go back and look at Strange Behavior, the first movie I wrote,
right,
there is a musical number in it at the party.
A little clue.
That the director, Michael Laughlin, was kind enough to let me stage and do, you know.
Oh, wow.
So the combination of these genres has been there from the beginning, you know.
It was there, but, you know, you did quite a few, and obviously the Twilight saga, which you dove right into that series,
which has a
is
real
interesting
horror element. You're
yeah,
right.
and that's interesting because now you're a director going into something that's an established series.
Yeah.
Was that difficult? Or?
It was. It's an adjustment, you know, and obviously something that was meant so much to so many people, you know. But I found my own. I always think I brought a gay sensibility to that material, and that. One of the things, there's so many things I like about that franchise, but one of them is it's in on the joke a little bit. You know, it's not, you don't do it with a wink, but still, there's a kind of fun to it that I think some of the others are so self-serious. You know, and it's a little annoying when people, you know, obviously, culturally, you know, it had been reviled back then, and it was sort of like, oh God, we know that. You know, we know there's a cheesy aspect to it, but it's fabulous, you know. And for me too, you know, I've always consciously thought of myself as aspiring to be in the tradition of George Cukor and Vince Minnelli. They were called, and Mitchell Elias, and they were called women's directors. They made women's pictures, right?
Yeah.
And that to me was a great women's melodrama, you know. And you got to play with, you know, on a big scale.
That's so funny. Yeah, women. I don't think of you as a woman's director like Cukor or them, but you're right.
One day, maybe.
When you talk about, but you got to do all those things. Well, look at Minnelli. I mean, like
exactly. Minnelli is the model. Yeah.
Yeah, he's amazing, but he could do any genre. So could Howard Hawks. You know, is that what appeals to you too?
Absolutely, yes.
Because you can make these really brilliant small dramas, they call them now, but they're movies the studios used to be interested in.
Yeah.
Like with great actors like Ian McKellen and everything else, and Helen Mirren, like I mentioned that movie, The Good Liar, which is just gripping to watch. But I would think you'd go into a meeting and try to explain what you want to do, and they'll go like, what?
A little bit, right?
How do you do it, in other words?
It's never easy. It's never easy to get movies made. It's not become any easier, you know? You know, I sat down, wrote it on spec. I had one idea in mind, which was Jennifer Lopez. Sent it to her. She's like, is this a meeting or are you offering it? No, it's yours. Do you want it? And she's like, yes. It was kind of at the launch of Artist Equity and Matt Damon and Ben Affleck's company, and they got behind it, and it came together very quickly, but it's a rarity.
That is a rarity to come together, because usually you hear these stories, and I interview people here, and they, you know, I spent 10 years, I spent 20 years just trying to get this made. And now you look at this, what's happening in this industry, and I mean, it's really out of control in my opinion. Now Paramount gets taken over by Skydance, and 5 minutes later they're trying to buy Warner Brothers. What is going on, Bill?
I think you have a better sense of that than I do. I find interesting is that, you've just been to the festivals, all the fall festivals, all the fall movies. There's a lot of great movies coming out this fall, and some interesting commercial movies too. And I look at it and I think, when I look at the movies that are opening within 10 days of us, and imagine going to the Grove, it's like nobody can say there's nothing to see.
No.
And nobody can say it's just Marvel and horror. It feels like a pre-pandemic return this fall. And so now it's like, it's up to the audience. It's like, are you going to show up? Are you going to come back? Because I think it all springs from that frustration of people who got out of the habit and haven't come back.
To adult kind of movies.
That's right.
Growing up movies.
Yeah.
I know the studios will do one a year because of the ego thing of having something for the Oscars. You know, they'll put out something.
Even some of them don't care about that anymore.
Anymore,
Yeah,
I
right,
know.
Yeah.
I wonder about Paramount. They have a terrific movie called Roofman.
Yeah.
And, you know, but it's the old Paramount, and, you know, some of these things get lost.
Oh, I hope not, yeah.
I was at the premiere, and I asked, is this the old Paramount here, or is it the new? And they said it's the old one.
Oh.
So, but, you know, I'm sure they're putting everything behind it, but it's tough.
I don't want to do that well. It opens the same day as we do, but
don't wish it everything.
No, I do absolutely not.
Yeah. But see, all these good movies that are going to appeal to adults who are the slowest to go.
Yes, I know.
Will open because I think the Julia Roberts picture is opening then too.
Yes, that's right, and the Bigelow picture.
Oh my God!
And
all
the Rose Byrne picture. If I had legs, I'd kick.
If I had legs, yeah, she's great.
All on the same day, yeah.
Wow, so
crazy, right?
It's an embarrassment of riches.
Right, people should go to the theater and Tron, you know, and so so people have a lot to see.
The latest Tron,
exactly.
You know, you started as a journalist.
Yeah, for a minute. Yeah, that's overstated. I would write art for Millimeter Magazine, a few things like that.
Right,
but
American film.
Yeah.
I saw this, and I've never asked you this. The world's most difficult film trivia quiz.
Stuart Byron, right? Do you remember Stuart Byron?
Yes.
He was sort of he was kind of doing what you did a little bit, right? Because he was like in an incisive way talking about what's going on behind the scenes in the business. You know?
Right, exactly. Yeah, and you won that.
I did.
So you have just such a knowledge of movies and what's come before, and you know you were always afraid to reference when you write a review now anything before 1995 or something because you're going to say nobody's going to know what you're, and I don't care.
No,
I will reference stuff that is I don't care if they get it or not.
Well, here we're referencing a period of it's not you know people know Cabaret, I hope, in Chicago and Moulin Rouge, but this is really a period that you've got to be a fan to really be up on.
Although it's called the Golden Era.
It is.
You know, that you're doing. And you've captured it so magnificently in this film. It's so believable. It's almost, like you say, you made two films. It could play on its own.
Oh, the musical.
Yeah.
Well, I keep thinking of it, the 40 minutes of the musical is actually all you ever want from those movies, you know?
Right.
Because in the middle of that, there are inevitably, so many great musicals have these horrible comedy sequences. You know what I mean? So I felt like this is the annotated version of that movie. You know?
Those Doris Day Warner Brothers musicals.
Oh, yeah, those are tough.
Because I watch all this stuff again now, and you know, Billy DeWolf, God bless him, and everything. But they stopped the movie for the comedy.
Jules Munchin doing a bit about tossing salad for 5 minutes.
Not everything is brilliant in those, folks. What are you doing next? What do you got going?
There are two movies. It's going to be fun to see which one happens first, but both of them I've been working on for a long time. One of them is Eddie Murphy playing George Clinton, which and his alter ego Dr. Frankenstein.
He's talked about doing that forever.
It's very exciting.
Oh, that's great. Reunited with Eddie, who you brought him his Oscar nomination in Dreamgirls.
Well, he's amazing. And then the other one is about Paul Simon and Hugh Masekela and the controversy surrounding the release of the Graceland album. Right?
Oh, wow.
Right, and it's so current. You know, it's so many issues of cultural appropriation and also, you know, even things you see now with boycotts. You know, it's such a complicated thing to take a position on, and that movie explores all that.
That's great. And you know, when you talk about controversy on things, you were I don't want to say a pioneer or anything, but when you look at this full circle moment you have with Gods and Monsters, which was a great gay-themed story about a director, James Whale, who of course did Frankenstein, The Bride of Frankenstein, and now to Kiss of the Spider-Woman, which has so many pertinent things to say. And the gay community, LGBTQ, is under attack.
It is.
In a big way now.
That's right.
So the timing is right.
Well, it's interesting. I think it's always been right, frankly, you know, because I started writing it before the election season. But you already saw that trans people specifically were being demonized. It's an old playbook, right? Think, you know, the right ran out of things like, you know, women outside of the household or gays and all that. I mean, everything became acceptable, you know,
Yeah.
and trans was this last group that they could pick on, you know. So certainly when we were making it, we made it in the spring, as the election season started. None of us thought what would happen was going to happen, but we did know that either way, trans people were in trouble. We're going to be in trouble, and they are.
And this movie is really, it's heartbreaking, but it is urgent and important too. It's something people should see. I want everyone to go see Kiss of the Spider-Woman, and you're in for a real treat. This is Bill Condon. Thank you for joining us on Behind the Lens.
Thank you, Pete. Pleasure as always. Thanks.